What's going on, guys? It's Thomas here and welcome back to another video. I know it's been a while since I posted anything, but my plan is to get back into posting regularly. Today is the first episode of a new series I'm starting called the 2K League Coaches Corner, which is essentially going to be a series of interviews and hopefully more videos with some of the 2K League coaches. Our first guest is Pat aka P-Cross, who's currently head coach of Wizards District Gaming. As always, don't forget to subscribe and let's get right into the video. For the people who don't already know, going back to the past, how did you become interested in 2K and when did you start playing?
Yeah, so, I always played the basketball games as a kid. Mainly I started on NBA Live until about 2009. That's kind of when I switched over to 2K. Obviously, you usually play 2K with your friends, so that's what I did. I became involved in game battles, 3v3 team up, or whatever it was at the time with my buddy and I in high school. So that's kind of how I started getting competitively. And, that was like I would say, start of how game battles kind of operated. For the 2K at least. And then later on, my good friend Chris, Insanity, plays for the Pistons. We went to high school together.
Yeah.
We got involved together. We made a team. Eventually, we had met up with Dev Goss, a couple other guys, and then that's kind of just how it started from there, really, over the years. Once the tournament came out for 250,000, obviously we had to try out for that, and then, I guess that kind of writes itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like having the past experience with Throwdown helped you in getting the coaching job?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I've played this game year in and year out. You kind of learn the intricacies of the game and kind of what works and what doesn't work. So with that, and the funny thing is, like, the game is different every year in how you play it. So having that adaptability and just familiarity with how the game always evolves is, I think, something they wanted to look for here at Wizards District Gaming. And so that's kind of what I bring in, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. So did your playing experience, was that the main reason why they asked you to coach the team, or was it other reasons as well, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we had probably 5 or 6 interviews with them. Couple phone calls. They eventually flew me down from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. So I think they just really liked me as a person. Obviously, my 2K background helped. They also were looking for someone with a college degree.
Yeah.
So, I kind of had that, kind of double standard of having a degree and then obviously playing this game competitively for years.
Yeah, I get that. Do you find, was there a tough transition between playing and coaching, since you just have to watch now, you can't actively participate?
There is. There's sometimes, we might be down, or, some things might go wrong, and I wish I was in the game, saying I would probably do it differently, but you never know, because it's easy to sit back and watch and say, I would do this, this, and this, but sometimes when you get in a game, people don't realize that, things are happening so fast, your mind's thinking so fast, sometimes you don't really relay to your hands.
Yeah.
Hand-eye coordination. So yeah, it was kind of difficult at first, but I've gotten used to it, and honestly, I love this job. I love coaching. I got a great group of guys with us, so I couldn't be happier with the first season.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does your role involve as a coach? What type of thing do you do? Is it writing plays and things like that, or is it more the mental aspect, like keeping the team concentrated and things like that?
So we do have a couple plays. I mean, mainly we kind of shift with the meta.
As most
it's
teams
tough to
do.
say. Yeah. Since the patch and they banned stiff arm, I felt like it was a little bit of time where we didn't have an identity.
Yeah.
Because before that, I feel like we were really hitting our stride, and then we got this curveball thrown at us. We shuffled guys around in our lineup, playing new positions, kind of how to create an offense. Obviously, now I feel like we're kind of hitting that stride, hopefully, right before playoffs, and that's kind of what you want. But yeah, we do spend some time. We game plan, watch film on teams. That's kind of hard, though, because you can change lineups. So you can watch film on one team, and then you play in the next week, they change their lineup. It's like, what did you really learn?
Yeah, exactly.
So that I'm kind of cautious on, depending on if I think they're going to change their lineup or not, since then we'll watch film or not. Film, game planning. Obviously, I set the practice schedule. I do all the traveling for the team. I book that. So I have a lot more responsibilities outside of 2K that I do help with the team.
Yeah. Do you enjoy that type of thing, or would that not really be your forte?
It's a part of the job. It's not like I love it. Mainly, I love doing all the 2K hands-on stuff, right? So if they ever needed
Yeah.
me to practice, I could obviously step in. Not going to say I'm as good as these guys since they play,
Yeah.
6-8 hours a day, probably even more. But I can get in there and handle myself sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what I was thinking actually. A lot of top players in the community have gone on to become coaches. I know Dev with the Magic, Rico with the Celtics. I find it's really good to see. Even a lot of throwdown players are coaching, like Rudy and Jonah and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have a bunch of people in the league. I can definitely see Chris probably being a coach later on, depending on when he wants to stop playing. Obviously, I think Dev's going to try out next year to be a player, but if it doesn't work out, he has a coaching job for sure.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what does a practice look like? Is it mainly focusing on stick skills only? Like, do you do any sort of mental work outside of the game? If that makes sense.
It was different in the beginning of the year since we didn't have like an online matchmaking.
Yeah.
Now we are able to matchmake, to match up with teams in the league.
Yeah.
So before that, we used to have some practice guys coming from the area. Sometimes we just run 3-on-3s with the league build. I might step in there. We have a 6-man. Sometimes we would pull people from our office. I mean, we were just trying to figure out any way that we could get these guys on a 5v5 game and try to help them.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Obviously, outside of it, it's mainly just building chemistry. These group of guys on the Wizards here, they hang out all the time. They'll probably go to JT's room and Chump's room. They'll bother them. They'll eat all their food. You can tell it's a family atmosphere between them. So I think that's an underrated aspect. Is like people don't realize chemistry is extremely important. Like if you don't like the guys you're playing with, then you're most likely not going to get wins.
Yeah. No, exactly. I don't think people really realize that. It's such a big thing. Like, because teams spent a good few weeks at the start of the year just purely focusing on getting players used to playing with each other.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. Is like I wanted these guys to like each other, and we're spending like pretty much the whole week with each other. We get one day off. Usually it's Sundays. Because we're traveling on the weekends and such. But yeah, I mean, we've done some activities, obviously some team-mounted activities regarding. We'll go to the Wizards practice court. Before, we would just play basketball. They're doing renovations now, so we haven't been able to go down in a while. But it's just doing some fun things to get the guys out there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know you mentioned it just there a second ago. Do you find that traveling impacts your play and everything like that? In terms of the players more than you, but...
Yeah. So I think for us, we're very lucky. So we are in Washington, D.C. That's about a 3-hour, 4-hour train ride to New York. We're still on the East Coast, I should say. So the train ride, it can get bumpy sometimes, but you can walk around the cabin. You're not delegated to just sit in your seat. There's a cafe. You can walk to the other train cars, so it's not like you're stuck on an airplane for 4 hours or 5 hours traveling across country.
Yeah.
So with us, I think it's a little bit easier. There are some times where it's like we're not even in New York 24 hours. So those weeks, are kind of tough because you're traveling there. You get like maybe a couple hours, and we're at the studio playing, and then the next morning we're out at like 8 a.m.
Yeah. Oh no, that doesn't sound easy. Do you think, like, would you say that it'd be really tough for Portland and stuff like that, like teams that have to travel far?
Yeah, like I've talked to Moody before, and he's usually tired as hell because they take a red eye sometimes. So it's like there is maybe somewhat of an advantage for East Coast teams, as regards to travel.
Yeah.
I just think of like how NBA athletes do it. Like they're traveling probably a couple times a week.
Yeah,
they
that's
play
crazy.
A couple times a week. So as far as that goes, I think we have it better than them.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you say is your favorite thing about coaching 2K?
My favorite thing, it's just seeing the team come together. Like that's what coaches do. I kind of push the guys at different times during the year. I've kind of got on their backs just to see how they would either go with or go against some adversity. That's my job, is to push them and put them in difficult spots so they could really shine and show who they really are, and then to bring the team all together. We've had a heck of a year, kind of up and down at times. We go on a win streak, then we go on a losing streak, and it's just like, you learn from that. We've had a couple losses, probably 3 or 4 by 1 point.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that could hurt us at the end of the season, but we've learned that we can play in close games. We can play against top teams, and obviously we beat Portland this week. So just the whole season, honestly, this is the easiest job I've ever had. It's the funnest job I ever had. It's the job that I'll probably love the most for the rest of
Great
my
to
life.
hear. That's great to hear. Is it hard to keep the morale up after a loss? What's the locker room like after an L?
Yeah, so it's difficult because when you lose, everyone's heads down. Especially if you lose a tough game by one,
Yeah,
because then you get in that mindset of like, oh, you start thinking about stuff that happened during the game as a player. You're like, I could have did this, and then it might have changed the whole game. You got to tell them it's a team loss, because if you win as a team, you're going to lose as a team.
yeah.
The hardest thing is honestly those train rides home.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, because it's just like you're so defeated. Usually for the first, it's like a 3-hour train ride. Usually for the first hour, everyone's kind of like to themselves. But honestly, this team kind of opens up after a while. We start having a laugh and having fun. I like to keep things positive, show that I have a smile on my face, because then they'll realize that they should probably also smile. What we do isn't hard. It's not like we're out there saving lives, but as a competitor, we always want to win.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, that's all the questions that I have. Thanks so much for getting on a call. I know you're competing for a playoff spot, so
Oh yeah.
best of luck this weekend. But thanks very much for giving me your time.
Hey, not a problem, Thomas. Anytime.